All right, welcome into Final Yard after the Miami Dolphins get hammered by the New York Jets 40-17 up in New Jersey. The game was actually 19-17 at one point. Missed field goal by Jason Sanders, and then the Jets go off and score the final 21 points of the game. Stories of the game, of course, Teddy Bridgewater was a starter for one play. Got perhaps concussed. We'll see. He's now in the protocol. Very first drop back from scrimmage, a play action pass in his own end zone. He gets hammered and essentially, at least with safety and his departure, Skylar Thompson comes in, showed a couple of good things, also showed why it's not still the preseason. And you take a look at the defense, just beating up on the ground today. 4 rushing touchdowns. And, we'll discuss it, Lewis, because I saw your tweet. I want to get into it a little bit. But offensively, the running game, Raheem was great. Beyond that, Chase Edmonds, it looks like he was benched because he dropped another pass in this game. Gaskin came in for him. Mike Gesicki didn't have his first catch until the fourth quarter when everything was all done. They didn't really get Waddle involved except for the one pass interference play. Tyreek Hill had a pass interference and some plays, but really, Lewis, and I'll get to the sponsor here first. PrizePicks, use the code 5, FIVE. Dolphins were a loser today. Maybe you can be a winner tonight. Okay, so give it a shot. Use the code FIVE for 5. You get your initial deposit matched up to $100. You don't have to play it all at once. The Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, and also PrizePicks.com. Just rated the #1 fastest growing sports product in the country. Find out why. Daily Fantasy Simplified. And, of course, the NBA props are up for the entire season. If you want to get in on that, you can play those right now. But, Lewis, look, a lot of bad circumstances. Terran Armstead, hurts the toe, has to leave the game. They lose Bridgewater in part because of the concussion protocols that were just established as a result of Tua. So
yes,
the test case with this. But overall, just not good enough today.
Not good enough. But you know what, though? While the Buffalo Bills were kind of complaining about the injuries that's why they lost against the Dolphins, and I'm sure that there's going to be some who should say, oh, we have no right to complain because we told Bills fans to get over themselves. But I feel like in our case, it's a little more justified because there was one player on the Bills roster who was still very much healthy and pretty much dragged them all the way to where they were. That was their starting quarterback, their superstar, all pro, possibly Super Bowl winning later on, star quarterback, Josh Allen. They had that guy. All they were missing were a couple of safeties and a couple of other players on the offensive line. That's not the worst thing in the world. They still had their star quarterback. Miami lost pretty much everybody who makes even remotely of a difference. Tyreek Hill went out too. At the very end of the game it didn't matter anymore. I understand that. But it's like every single player that you can point at and said, we'd rely on this guy, we rely on this guy, we rely on this guy, all gone. So no Tyreek at the end of the game. Teron Armstead goes out with a toe injury, and you have Brandon Shell, who gets brought up from the practice squad. Granted, he's a veteran. He kind of knows what he's doing, but still. You lose out on Teddy Bridgewater. One play he was in, and thanks to the revised concussion protocols, isn't that ironic that it's because of the Dolphins they have to revise the concussion protocols, and guess what? The Dolphins get to be the first one to test it. Isn't that fun? And so now we're back to the backup being the guy. Like, we didn't even have our starting quarterback for the past, want to say 3 weeks now, really? Because you lost Tua after in Cincinnati. And now you have Teddy Bridgewater, and he doesn't even get to play. He doesn't get to play. He really did not get to play. So we have no idea what it would look like with Teddy Bridgewater running the offense. We're just going to be honest about that. And the fact that we are now in a situation where they're going to be putting so much caution that if a guy even gets his head bonked too hard, somebody's going to come in and say, no, he doesn't get to come back ever again. He passed, according to the reports, he passed all the concussion protocol tests. Mm-hmm. But now because some guy said, you know what, he hit his head too hard and we actually had to test him, so I'm just going to say no for his own safety. Okay, sure, his own safety. I said that the defense was playing pretty well, all things considered, because let's be honest about this. The offense wasn't able to get very far. And the few times they did, it was on the legs of Raheem Mostert, which we should be doing for the future, by the way, after Tua comes back, because that's going to take a lot of pressure off of him. But at some point, you have to say, well, how many injuries is too many injuries? On defense, okay, Xavier Howard was gone. So let's say that that's the equivalent to Jordan Poyer for the Buffalo Bills. Byron Jones still out. Let's say that's the equivalent of Micah Hyde for the Buffalo Bills. Okay, fine. That you can give that. Miami lost their quarterback, man.
Yeah.
Like at some point you have to look at it and be like, this is too much.
But
like,
even with that, it was 1917. I mean,
and that's the thing. That's the scary thing, is that even after all that, it was still within range of them winning.
And they hit that field goal. They hit that field goal. They're leading, and then and then everything kind of collapsed after that. Let's go through a few players here, though. Let's do it quickly, kind of rapid fire. We may be joined by some others here. In the meantime, we will take some of your comments. It's going to be a relatively short show. I will say this. We look at some players, and there's just some guys who just didn't look like they belonged on the field. I mean, we don't really need to talk about Noah anymore. I don't really know the purpose of this experiment. I mean, the only thing he did today was run into his own guy.
Money. It's money. If you cut him, you lose money.
Yeah, well, I guess it is, but I mean, they have to come up with some other option to play here, particularly if X is going to be banged up, particularly if the Byron Jones thing is going to be a Will Fuller-like situation, which is what it looks like right now, where it may be an even further extended absence, but he just does not belong on the field. Chase Edmonds, I don't know what happened to him. I watched him in Arizona last year. He caught the ball. This year he can't catch the ball. That's now three drops recently. Today's wasn't a huge one, but obviously the coach noticed because he sat him down. So that was clear on that. You mentioned the running game, and they were able to get something going with Raheem. And I'm with you that I think they can. If there's one thing they can build off today, it's that. But again, the defensive front didn't get much pressure. They didn't really make Zach Wilson uncomfortable. We talked about that before the game. He wasn't great. He didn't need to be because of the running game, and again because Miami was not tilting the field position the right way. But I don't know. I mean, except for Melvin Ingram, nobody's showing up. Like I know the metrics say guys are, but I'm not seeing impactful plays. They didn't force a turnover again today. Is that correct, or did I miss one?
That is correct. There was no forced turnover for the Miami Dolphins today, and it is something to be concerned about because again, I still feel like that the way that this defense runs, Josh Boyer, like I know that everybody's going to dunk on him and he's going to talk about how horrible he is. But this defense, remember, defense is not built on the defensive line. This defense is built on the two anchors at corner that Miami is paying really good money for. Xavier Howard and Byron Jones together are in tandem, are the pieces that make this defense the top unit that we're used to it being. When both of them are out, not just forget if you can get one of them in there, you can still kind of survive a little bit because all credit to Kader Kohu. He's doing, for being an undrafted rookie, he's doing a pretty good job. But you cannot lose both your guys and still expect to play the same type of defense because you know that Xavier Howard can survive on an island. You know that Byron Jones, when healthy, can survive on an island. Kader Kohu and Keon Crossan and Nick Needham, to an extent, they need help. They can't do it by themselves. So when you do that, now all of a sudden, the whole premise of the defense, which is being able to be strategic with your blitzing, strategic with your personnel groupings, strategic with your just placement on the field, doing that whole amoeba thing, all of that is precedent on having both Howard and Jones together, two top NFL cornerbacks, Pro Bowl, potentially all pro cornerbacks doing their job on a regular basis. If Xavier Howard and Byron Jones are healthy, this Jets team, they could barely get it going a lot of the time with just Kohu and Crossan out there. It didn't take until after the fourth quarter that they finally managed to get everything going. And that was after everybody was already exhausted and all momentum had fallen off of the Miami Dolphins. So that's what it took for the New York Jets to finally break away, is for the Dolphins to just absolutely collapse either out of exhaustion or just mental instability. I don't know.
All right, I want to bring Eric in here. Before we do, our producers, Manny Chang. Manny, if you have an opportunity, we've got about 40 comments sitting in the queue, so let's start to throw some of these up so people can interact with us. Eric, the other issue I had today defensively was tackling. Was bad. Particularly near the goal line. This one comes in from Noble Demon Tim. We will always post your super chat comments. I hate the fact that both the Hurricanes and Dolphins are hitting rock bottom, especially when this year is the golden 50th anniversary of perfect season. I don't think you haven't been watching the Dolphins very long if you think this is rock bottom, but we appreciate the contribution. I mean, those first 8 minutes, were pretty much rock bottom. Everything went wrong. I'm not sure all of that was their fault. I mean, guys were getting hurt. But again, fall from first to third in the division. People are very down today, Eric. But I guess what is without blaming the injuries, which I know is part of it, and all of us, we're going to acknowledge it. It is a factor. What was most disappointing to you today, though?
The most disappointing. It has to be the defensive line. And to their credit, they did a decent job in the first half. There were times when Zach Wilson, where they did get pressure on him, they got a couple of sacks, and they did a decent job of hemming up the run game in the first half. It's just a matter of, I don't know. I feel like there was a turning point there in the second half where it felt like as soon as, and I guess this is really the most disappointing thing, as soon as the Jets made the decision that they're just going to lock in on the run game, because Mostert got most of his work done in the first half. As soon as the Jets made the decision that they were just going to absolutely sell out for the run, the Dolphins had absolutely nothing after that on offense. And that's probably the most disappointing thing, is that they just there was just no answer to the Jets to the adjustments that they made.
Well, to that point, okay. I mean, look, I don't know if Tua is playing next week or not. I don't know if Bridgewater is playing next week or not. I mean, these new protocols kind of change everything. Yeah, OC got Gesicki more involved. Gesicki had one catch. It was in the fourth quarter. I told David Eversole not to play that one over. I just don't think he's part of the game plan in any way. But I guess looking at the quarterback position, let's say it's Skyler next week. I mean, Minnesota's actually playing reasonably well. Cousins played well today. He can either be really good or really bad, obviously. But Skyler will have a full week of practice with the first team, we think. I mean, we'll get a sense of it as we go forward. I mean, Lewis, what did you like and what did you not like? I mean, it's not preseason anymore. That's obvious. He also hasn't worked with these receivers a lot, because in camp he was working with Eazy-E and others towards the bottom of the depth chart. I mean, what did you think today?
I mean, it just tells me that Skylar Thompson, as much as we want to talk about him and how miraculous he was in preseason, again, he was facing third and fourth string players. I don't know why people were under this erroneous belief that Skylar Thompson was going to be like the savior of the Miami Dolphins. I keep saying over and over again that no quarterback can truly be the savior for a franchise. I mean, Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, he's still Aaron Rodgers, but he's not going to be able to drag the Green Bay Packers to the playoffs this time from what I'm seeing over there. So what does that say about the Green Bay Packers as a whole? But nevertheless, we're talking about the Dolphins, and I think I'm going to have to amend my statement a little bit. I don't think Tua is going to be the savior for the franchise, but let me tell you something. The difference between when Tua is in the game and when Tua is not in the game, it is night and day. And I guess I have to be fair to Teddy Bridgewater, because we never really got a chance to see what he could do with the offense, because he only was in there one play. And I personally feel that these new protocols are going to be met with a lot of protest, and we'll see how long they stick with this whole PR move that they're planning. Because if all you this is what Alfredo had said. I believe he was the one who brought it up, is that if all defenses realize they have to do is, if I can just get the quarterback to hit his head hard enough, then he'll be out for the game, and they can't do thing one about it. And so I feel like that is going to actually incentivize headhunting on the parts of defenses just to knock out quarterbacks. And I think that what's going to happen is that we're actually going to see a lot more roughing the passer calls in future games, which is going to be even more. This whole thing that they're doing here, trying to protect the quarterbacks to such an extent, because that's what this is. This is protecting quarterbacks. It's not about protecting players as a whole. I truly believe that. They want to show how much they care. They don't. They really don't. They're trying to save their tails. And so what's going to happen now is, I feel like if the Dolphins want any chance of salvaging this season, Tua's going to have to come back. And he's going to have to come back fast. And I personally feel like all these reports, we keep hearing about how wonderful it is, how encouraging the signs are. Everything is coming back clean. He's not showing any adverse effects. And this is doctor after doctor after doctor actually examining Tua, not team doctors, independent physicians who are all looking at this thing and like, I'm not seeing any issues here. So at what are the Dolphins going to be cudgeled into not playing Tua for another week because they don't want the firestorm that would cause. They're going to be saying things. If they say that Tua starts practicing, what's going to happen is that they're going to come out and say, oh, the Dolphins are putting him back in the line of fire after only 1 week off from his concussion. Are the Miami Dolphins going and spitting in the face of the new concussion protocol? You can already see the narrative.
But Louis, this makes it, what happened with Bridgewater makes it more difficult now, because let's say Bridgewater had come in and played reasonably.
Bridgewater had he was nothing. Some guys told him to stay out.
No, but that's what I'm saying, though. Let's say Bridgewater had come in and he had played reasonably well, okay, win or lose, and you bring Tua back anyway, there would not be this rush. And I already saw the doctor who's been killing the Dolphins on Twitter has already come out and said, watch, they're going to rush Tua back now. I don't think there would be the kind of backlash to Tua coming back if that was the case. Now it's going to look, there's no question, it's going to look like the Dolphins don't want to play Skylar Thompson against Minnesota if again, Bridgewater is sort of in this sort of murky area also, regardless of whether, he actually does test positive for concussion. And I'm just telling, Luz, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that is what's going to happen from the national media and from other observers. I'll go to Jacob now. We bring in Jacob Michelle. You can follow at Fins_Dynasty and also Fins Dynasty on IG. I think what we're going to see is people are going to be like, you can't bring Tua in the back now just because you don't have another quarterback. Like that's what's going to happen now. And it's not right, because he should clear when he clears. It's just that simple, but that's not how this is going to play out. Jacob, let's go to you on this. We've talked about things we found disappointing today and others that could be perceived as excuses or reasons or whatever. This was not a game before the year where we thought they would drop. Okay, we didn't think they were going to lose to the Jets. They've won a couple games we didn't expect them to win. Okay, they could have won the Cincinnati game. With where they're at 3-2, how do you feel about it?
I mean, like you said, this was a win on the schedule that we were all putting W's on at the beginning of the year, and the Bills game was an L that we were putting on at the beginning of the year. So obviously not a game that you want to drop, but it makes sense. You have Skylar Thompson at quarterback. Fans were saying that Skylar Thompson was the answer, but obviously looking at this game, he's not the answer. He's serviceable as a third string. You could argue that. The offensive line didn't really do him justice, but I think looking forward, it's important to kind of analyze what the Dolphins are going to do at quarterback, because Skylar Thompson, you cannot start Skylar Thompson, or make a strong argument that you cannot start Skylar Thompson against the Vikings. I don't think that's a winnable game if Skylar Thompson starts at quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater most likely not going to start. So I mean, I guess he's the last resort unless you bring off a guy. But I don't know. It's a tricky situation. The Dolphins really not ideal coming into next week with quarterbacks.
Let me
interject something.
Yeah, go ahead, Lewis.
So we're talking about rushing Tua back, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so who determines how many weeks rushing back is? Exactly.
Well, that's the thing. No one does.
Stephen A. Smith.
Right. Stephen A. Smith gets to decide, right? So my issue is that, again, if all the reports are saying, I don't care at this point, the Miami Dolphins, and I hope they don't care about this, I don't give a flying about the optics about it all anymore. If there is no signs of any adverse effects, if Tua is moving around like nothing happened, I don't see why you don't send him out there. For real.
Well, I think they will. I think they will.
I think they have to. They have to.
I think they're going to get killed for it, but I think they will. I think at this point they absolutely. I mean, their season to a certain degree is on the line. I mean, I don't want to say you can't recover from 3-3, but you're looking at a very competitive AFC, and now you've got the Jets. I don't think the Jets are a playoff team, but I mean, you've got them basically tied with you. Patriots won today. Okay, I don't think they're very good either, but they did win today, and we know that the Bills are there. So I mean, you slipping to 3-3. It's kind of where we thought they'd be at the start of the season, but it looked better than this. All right, I'm going to go around the horn, and then I've got to go. I'm going to let you guys carry here. We appreciate the comments and Manny coming in. Let me just ask about Josh Boyer. Let me go to you first on this, Eric. Lewis has mentioned this defense is anchored by the corners. The corners are not there today, and one of them may not be there for a while. But there is no pressure. I mean, there just is no pressure. And the linebackers, with the exception, I mean, in that front seven, like Melvin Ingram is making plays. Is Baker making plays? Is Agba making plays? We saw Wilkins a couple of times flash. Raekwon Davis flashed and it was called back. I don't know. I mean, I felt good about Josh Boyer. Mike McDaniel kept Josh Boyer for a reason. Can you blame Josh Boyer here? Because I see this in the comments.
It's tough for me to say that I want to blame Josh Boyer just because a lot of the big plays that the Jets got were quite frankly blown coverages that you can really chalk up to having a really inexperienced secondary. And anytime you have a secondary that's going to be that inexperienced, you're going to have blown coverages like that. I do think that, maybe there could have been more counters. Maybe you're trying to I would have liked to see them try more as far as sending blitzes, but I don't really know what more could have been done aside from sending a few extra blitzes.
The tackling's been horrible. The tackling's been horrible, though. I don't know why that's become a problem again. They look like last year's Hurricanes. I mean, Jacob, do you blame Boyer at all?
It's hard to blame Boyer because, I mean, yes, the defense collapsed in the second half. There's no doubt about it, and they looked up and down in the first half. But I mean, you're missing Byron Jones, you're missing Xavier Howard. Boyer's had those two pieces in the past, which has made him look much better as a coach than he did today. You also have the face mask call. That one drive with all the face mask calls really ruined the Dolphins' momentum. And I think in the NFL, it is about a game of momentum. When the Dolphins lost that momentum, it was hard to regain it back, and everything kind of escalated from there. The dominoes fell. And when that happens, it's really hard to come back from adversity. Luckily, when we did that against the Ravens, Tua was there to kind of bail us out. With the Bills, they kind of shot themselves in the foot there. But when the Jets are kind of doing this, and Josh Boyer it's hard to regain that momentum at that point in the game.
All right, Louis, I'm going to let you start. I'm going to turn it over to you. Obviously, check out our program throughout the week. In addition to what we're doing today, our sponsor PrizePicks, sign up with the code 5 FIV. But in addition, tomorrow, of course, the Extra Yard with Troy and Alex Dono will jump into all of this. All right, guys, all yours. Drive it better than Boyer did.
All right, so I also want to point out to anybody who wants to give their thoughts on everything, there is going to be a Spaces on the Extra Yard on the 5 Reasons Sports Dolphins Twitter version of that. I can give you the actual @ for that. So just so everybody knows, it's at 5 Reasons Fins. That's the number 5 Reasons Fins, FINS. So there's going to be a Spaces if you guys want to actually give your thoughts and give your opinions on everything that's happening. So now, this is the situation. And this is something that's being brought up by Markins Thaluzma. He's not blaming Boyer, but maybe we need to have a discussion on whether the bend but don't break defense is actually the way to go. But okay, so listen, here's the situation again. And this is something that I feel like once I have to bring this up because so many Bills fans are out there right now because they're watching the Dolphins more than they're watching the Bills at this point because they're just that salty over it. They're saying that, oh, you guys told us to shut up because we had our top safeties out. Okay, you had your top safeties out. We had our top corners out. We lost the game. But who was the one guy that you guys did have? And I'm going to keep harping on this because it's so important.
That's ridiculous.
It's so important. They had Josh Allen, their quarterback, their guy, and they had their top weapon. Their defense was down, but their offense was in full swing. And so our offense and our defense were extremely.
I'm not even going to talk about our defense. I'm just going to talk about the quarterback, the most important position on the player, down to the 3rd string quarterback. All right. That's not an excuse at that point. That's just fundamentally unwinnable if you have a third, unless you're the Lions and you self-destruct against the Patriots. That's an exception because the Lions totally just pulled a nuclear bomb on themselves.
I still feel like the whole Lions thing is fool's gold. I'm not buying the Lions. I'm sorry. I'm just not. But I digress. You had this whole situation where you basically lost all your important players, all of them. Buffalo lost a couple of them. Miami lost everyone. They lost Teron Armstead. They had to go to Brandon Shell. They lost Teddy Bridgewater, who's not even the starter. Remember, he's the backup. And they lost him. So they had to bring in their other guy. I get it. The preseason superstar, Skylar Thompson, quote unquote, best quarterback on the roster. Boy, that didn't last very long, did it? So at least I don't have to listen to that nonsense anymore. That's for sure. And so, and I think is this a Jets fan? I think because he's saying Dubs in the chat. I think this is a Jets fan who's being upset about things. So listen, dude, understand something. Mike White, he's actually a viable backup in the league. Like everybody,
backup.
He's a viable
not
backup.
third string, 7th round pick out of God knows where. Like, come on now.
And so this is where I'm at right now. If Tua Tagovailoa does not get hurt, Miami could reasonably be 5-0 because they were this close to beating the Cincinnati Bengals, and the offense would have looked so much better this week as well. I'm just reaching a point where how much adversity is too much adversity to overcome. And I feel like this was it. This was it. You can't lose your two top corners and have two undrafted. Like, did Keon Crossan get drafted? Like, he's not. I know he's not. I don't think he's a rookie. So. Like, what is Keon Crossan anyway? How long has he been in the league anyway? Okay, he was 7th round draft pick for the Patriots back in 2018. Okay, fine. So you have a 2018 7th round draft pick. You have
performing better than Noah.
Who also Noah Igbenogany. Oh my God,
he needs to be cut. This is his game. This is his game for me.
Noah Igbenogany.
He's not going to be on the roster next year. I'm sorry. No matter what happens, he is gone. This game was it.
Like once it happened again, and all respect to Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain, no one is going to be able to fix him. He is so bad. Oh my God, it hurts how bad he is. It hurts how bad Noah Igbenogany is. At this point, if he's such a reactionary player, I'm at this point wanting to make him try to be a safety. Like, let him go chase people around. He loves to do that. He loves to chase people. So let him be the Brandon Jones type guy. Make him be the backup to Brandon Jones, because Brandon Jones can't cover to save anybody's life either. So, like, that's what I would do if I'm the Dolphins at this point. Tell Sam and Pat, listen, you tried your best. There's nothing with this guy. And so I'll give credit to the Jets. 40 points on the Dolphins. They did a pretty darn good job, all things considered. I just don't think that the Dolphins are going to be able to keep this up if they don't get some of their players back. Like, Xavier Howard and Byron Jones are the key to the Miami Dolphins defense, because without them, you can't win without your blitzing. That's what made the defense so formidable, knowing that you could afford to send an extra guy or two to chase after the quarterback, because you knew that that Byron Jones and Xavier Howard were absolutely locking down the other two wide receivers. And I see that everybody's in the chat room. We're being trolled. That's okay. It's fine. I understand. You guys won. Be happy for yourself. Be happy for you. I get it.
It's sort of like the Jets Super Bowl, when it's like equivalent to when Miami played Tom Brady once or twice a year, and they took a game from Brady, and then
I'm not going to Jacob. I'm not going to take credit away from them. They performed. They did their job. 100%. They performed. They did their job. They want us to take the L. But okay, well, fine. We're taking the L. We lost, but we have to talk about what happened, don't we?
Right.
Otherwise, there's no show. We can just turn it off. So we're gonna keep talking about stuff.
It's funny because I keep going back to that comment where somebody's asking maybe we should reevaluate the bend but don't break defense. I think the bend but don't break defense is a result of not having Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, or at least one of them, and Howard being hobbled. Because this isn't necessarily the style of defense that they had been playing towards the end of the year last year. This is something that they had to kind of come up with.
Right, but the quarterbacks that they were playing were not great quarterbacks. Aside from Lamar Jackson, they really didn't beat anybody.
Right. That's true. But I think against the better quarterbacks, for example, like a Josh Allen or like a Lamar Jackson or like a Joe Burrow, you're a little bit more worried that if you over blitz that they're going to end up beating you on a big play just with those offenses.
So that's where it boils down to for me. Your entire offense is structured for two quarterbacks that are not even in the game. Tua and Teddy Bridgewater, similar skill sets. Skylar Thompson, yeah, you could argue similar skill set.
Preseason MVP, baby.
Preseason MVP Skylar Thompson. I don't know where Dolphins fans were getting this idea that he was some kind of superstar in the making. No, I'm sorry. That's not the case. He's not. There's a reason he's a third stringer. There's a reason he's a 7th round quarterback. But so now you lost the engine that makes the offense go. Tyreek Hill did everything he could, and ended up getting hurt as in the process. He did everything he could to get the Dolphins moving. Raheem Mostert. All this tells me is that if the Miami Dolphins want to, they can absolutely run the ball, by the way. They can run the ball. The Dolphins can run the ball. And Raheem Mostert can make it happen. I love Raheem Mostert. I don't want Chase Edmonds to run the ball anymore. I have no desire to see him run the ball. At this point, I want to see Raheem Mostert catch some passes. I'm over Chase Edmonds' experiment. I'm over the experiment. I really, really am.
Yeah.
I say we keep Raheem Mostert next year, cut Chase Edmonds, tell him to go packing bye-bye, and go find another running back in the draft somewhere next year. That's my personal opinion. I just don't see the need for Chase Edmonds anymore with the way that Raheem Mostert has been playing. He put up over 100 yards rushing. That's exactly what we want from our run game, right? That was the thing that we were looking for a guy that can get the job done that way. When Tua comes back, and he will come back, I'm hoping it's going to be sooner rather than later. And because if he doesn't show up against the Vikings, I personally don't think Teddy Bridgewater has a concussion. Again, the hit wasn't that bad. He was up and walking afterwards. So
third string QBs.
Third string.
I want to go off. Yeah, I want to go off your point about like just the shift in that game, because Miami was successfully running the football. There's no doubt about it. They were running the football, but in my opinion, when they missed that Jason Sanders field goal from 46 yards, that's when everything started to turn. Like that at that point. I'm just looking at the box score right now. He misses the field goal, and at that point, it's only 17-19. So we even take the lead if he makes that field goal. And then the fourth quarter is just dominated by the Jets, and it comes off of the missed field goal. The Jets 7 plays 56 yards, and then it ends up in a touchdown. And then after that, you have Skylar Thompson trying to battle from behind, and that's when everything starts to turn. You can't have a third string quarterback coming in their deep in their own territory and try to come back from that. It's just not a recipe for success. So I think that's when everything started to turn. Again, football is a game of momentum, and off of that missed field goal, the momentum just absolutely shifted, and the Dolphins were unable to respond.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, there was just so much letdown in this game, and so much that, because I really think, aside from a few questionable calls in the first half, I liked what I saw from the defense in the first half. They were a little bit up and down, but for the most part, I thought they were getting good enough pressure. I thought they were doing well stopping the run, keeping the Jets in third, in long situations, to where Zach Wilson, he'll make some inaccurate throws, get you the ball back. But at that point, you're looking at it now. The offense isn't really going to be able to move the football, because the Jets are just going to start stacking the box and forcing Skylar Thompson to throw the ball downfield. And
by the way, can we talk about Skylar Thompson throwing the ball downfield? Oh my God! Every pass he made, bro, looked like a wounded duck in flight. I like there was. You want to talk about Tua's arm strength? I don't know what it is about Skylar Thompson, but his passes down the field look terrible. Okay,
I know at that point, like Reed Sinet's arm strength looked better at that point. Well, why aren't we talking about maybe looking towards Reed Sinet as opposed to Skylar Thompson if we're going to talk about the Vikings? Because Skylar Thompson, all he did was force pass interferences that were underthrown. If Tua came out and did that, he would be absolutely slaughtered on national media. But Skylar Thompson comes out and he underthrows almost every receiver, and he throws it up. He throws a really bad throw to Sauce Gardner that ends up getting intercepted. I
love how you said that. Territory. He threw it to Sauce Gardner, which he did. In reality, he did.
In reality, he did. I mean, Skylar Thompson, you don't expect much out of a third string quarterback, but Miami cannot win games if the defense can't be like the 2020 defense, that the 2021 defense. They need an offense that is brought to you by a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah, the Dolphins need to have either Teddy Bridgewater or ideally they get Tua back, because again, I've been harping on this all show, and I'm going to keep doing it because I feel like at this point, if you want the season to continue, You need to bring this guy back. Tua needs to play. Tua needs to play against the Vikings. He needs to play against the Vikings, because if this is how we perform against the Jets with Skylar Thompson at quarterback, there's no week of preparation that's going to make this offense function better. Skylar Thompson is the way he is because he's not ready for this job. He's not. I think he's going to be a great backup. And I will even go on record as to say that I was very much wrong. I was wrong. I thought Skylar Thompson could be a better backup than Teddy Bridgewater based on what I saw in the preseason. I was very wrong. I was extremely wrong. And anybody who wants to kick me in the comments later about it, feel free to do so, because I was so wrong. Teddy Bridgewater is here for a reason. He is here because he is a better backup at this point than Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson was facing against third and fourth string players in preseason. We need to acknowledge that. We need to realize that and understand that in a couple years' time, Skylar Thompson probably will be a very good backup quarterback. But right now, that his time is not now, ladies and gentlemen. It is not. I'm sorry. He's going to have to wait a little bit longer if he wants to be the guy anywhere as a backup. So now we've run into the Vikings situation. If Xavier Howard comes back from his groins, I keep saying it like groins. It's not groin, it's groins injury. And if I hope Byron Jones, we get some update on him, because the fact that he's taking this long to come back, yeah, Ethan said it. I'm really getting scared that this is becoming a Will Fuller situation, that he's never going to come back.
They said with Byron Jones that he hasn't even started his 21-day workout period to come back. So he's not on the horizon anytime soon.
Yeah, so that's what I'm very concerned about, is that if Byron Jones is going to be out for this long, then the Dolphins have a problem.
Justin Jefferson incoming 200-yard day.
I mean, if Xavier Howard can come back, maybe we have a shot.
Maybe 100 yards instead of 200 yards if Xavier Howard.
But you know what? You know what? Again, the Dolphins have been giving up yards, but not necessarily points. That's been the difference maker. And so, but now they're giving up points because you don't have your guys. And so I just feel like we're kind of grasping at straws here, trying to come up with some explanation. The explanation is we just didn't have the necessary talent at the time. That's it. Like, you reach a point where you can't overcome that much adversity. And the fact that Manny's coming in now, he has something to say. I don't know if he's about to whoop me or if he's about to agree with me.
No. So what I do want to say is this. I do truly understand that we do have Slay, but listen, one of the best ways that we were able to contain Mr. Justin was you basically created a 3-man block around him, and you made the other guys beat you. Their tight end, Thielen, and if you can stop their running game, Kirk Cousins is going to Kirk Cousins. So this whole scenario, Lewis, that
we thought Zach Wilson was going to Zach Wilson, but that didn't work so good.
Yeah, but it's a division game, and the Jets haven't beaten the Dolphins in how long, and all these other things. So there's so many things coming with it. But listen, you can beat this Vikings offense if you stop their running game. You make Kirk Cousins become one-dimensional, and you at least hold Justin Jefferson to those big plays. Trust me, the game is winnable.
And I'd like to agree with you, Manny, and I really hope that happens. I think the Dolphins coaching staff is competent enough to pull that route and do that. I'm looking at the defensive backfield, and you have Kader Kohu, who is undrafted. You have Nick Needham, who's undrafted, who is playing really well. I mean, with an exception.
He wasn't that great today.
Not that great today.
A few mistakes.
You don't really have any guys that have been. Eric Rowe looked like a vegetable today. Honestly, he looked just terrible.
His job is to cover tight ends. He's not a corner.
And then you got Javon Holland, who, I mean, he needs to step up a little bit. I mean, obviously the corners weren't making him look very good, but I mean, you need to have some veteran leadership back. And with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard out, you'd like to think that the Dolphins could stop the Vikings next week, but it's hard to believe that with this defensive backfield. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw a comment by B Smokey here, and I was gonna bring this up to Manny. Manny got Kirk at 8:30. We got 1 p.m. Kirk to contend with next weekend, so that's gonna be a little bit tougher.
Different.
All right. So
not many people were saying that before the game, and then once the game happened, it's under the lights, Kirk. Come on, though. Listen, Listen, unless there is a frozen tundra that comes down into our homeland, it's going to be hot. They're going to be sweating their asses off. If the Dolphins are smart, they will wear white, make them wear the purple. Trust me, it is there. It is.
Not the sun. Come on now.
Yeah, no, right. With the Hard Rock Sun, that Twitter account. That's is that
That's
going
our
to come back?
12th man, baby. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guys who went to MetLife Takeover. Like, for real, they raised a ton of money for charity, and that's all well and good. But man, what a performance to have to sit and endure the whole time. And
going back to that Eagles Vikings game, like Jalen Hurts, like you have a very good quarterback to counteract that, right? If you have a third string quarterback and you're like, oh, okay, we just got to contain Justin Jefferson, we just got to do this on defense. None of that's going to matter if you don't have any momentum on offense. And I think it's just, you got to have that momentum to just have a chance.
So I think we're getting ready. Is there anything else that we missed? Is there anything else we got to talk about? I know that I don't think I'm going to enjoy Pulsifins Nation this week. That's for sure. I don't think
you hate the trolls on the Jets. I mean, it's
going
tough.
to be, it's going to be brutal.
Jets are going to Jets. Credit the Jets. You guys came in and you
finally broke the losing streak.
You broke the losing streak, and you guys took advantage of our third string quarterback and just Miami Dolphins down bad astronomically. And you know what? Dolphins fans can't really catch a break. It's in our blood, and it's expected.
It's games like this that why the battered Dolphins fan syndrome exists. Like, it's just when you think that things are going to go great, things fall apart in the worst possible way. That's what it means when we say that's so Dolphins. It's not that their performance is just going to be that terrible. It's that it's the Murphy's Law thing. Whatever could go wrong does go wrong. So I don't know. We'll see what happens against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm hoping that we see updates that maybe Tua is going to come back, because I feel like if Matt Morris cursed this fan base, I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that, to be perfectly honest. I'm out of ideas.
This fan base was cursed.
Way weird. Is McDaniel a QB killer? I mean, how? No. With voodoo magic? Like what exactly do you mean by that? If anything, man, Tua, think about this. Tua was on path to have the greatest year of his career, 100%. And hopefully,
it's such a shame.
It's still not over. I still think he'll be back. He will be back. Okay. Yeah. I just don't know when. I'm hoping it's next week, because, and one thing that I cannot stress this enough, and I think that this is going to be a factor down the line too, even if Tua does come back. Teron Armstead needs to come back and play left tackle. We cannot have Brandon Shell out there playing left tackle in place of Teron Armstead.
I mean, he has to have turf toe at this point, right? Because it's literally the toe that's been hurting him, and turf toe sidelines guys for 3 weeks at a time. So either his feet are made of glass or he has turf toe. I mean, there's something more serious going on with that, because he is not 100%. Jalen Waddle wasn't 100%. Tyreek Hill wasn't 100%. Guys aren't 100%. Guys coming into the week questionable and starting are not equivalent to 100%. So guys need to heal up as well.
Yeah, but it's like we're 5 weeks into the season. We can't already be limping.
No,
we can't. Like, if we're expected to be a playoff caliber team, at some point you need to be able to overcome. Like, you need to have some guys come back.
Right.
Like, ask any NFL team. Ask the Bills.
Right.
Ask the Rams. Ask any of these playoff caliber teams. If you lose if the Ravens lose Lamar Jackson, does their season go up in smoke? Most people would probably say yes.
If the Eagles lose Jalen Hurts, our season is done.
It's like,
because every single thing that we do is based off of what Jalen Hurts can do with his feet and now with his arm.
That's a fair
statement. And listen, all these Dolphin fans, I want to just listen. I get it. You guys starting off 3-0, losing 2 in a row, losing the best and most important player on any football team and on the field is gonna. And I understand that, but again, the expectations to think that Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson are just going to go in there and just become the next Kurt Warner is not going to happen so fast.
Well, Manny,
I'm being serious. Like,
let's be
Kurt
fair,
Warner
Manny.
Doing groceries don't grow on trees, okay?
Manny, let's be fair about something. We don't know what Teddy Bridgewater would have done.
That's
We
true.
don't.
That's true. No. He actually had a very good game though. Last game, going into a hostile environment, not knowing if he was going to play or not. So listen, that has to be there. But again, though, to rip him out of the opportunity of actually starting a game and something that he's never done in a long time, and him wanting to play for his hometown team, I thought that chance was just ripped away, man. And I'm not gonna criticize the league, but shame on them, man. Shame on them if he could have still go in there and at least played. Because to see this guy go through so many other teams after being a starter in Minnesota, he was trying to find a place to fit in, finally gets an opportunity, and he actually looked quite decent last week. For that to get taken away, it's just ridiculous, especially in the divisional road game.
Yeah, it makes me think like just going back to the Bengals game with Teddy. Like you think of, remember that pick that he threw the last on the last drive?
The pick that wasn't a pick.
That was supposed to be for Mike Gesicki, which made me think, oh wait a second, where was Mike Gesicki today? Oh wait, he's never in any game. That's right. And Durham Smythe gets injured, and he isn't in the game either. And second of all, Mike Gesicki, going back to Mike Gesicki, he's not going to be on this team next year if he keeps just being absolutely.
Jacob, I guarantee you, he's going to be traded by the deadline. He's going to be traded by the deadline.
Traded astronaut at his worst stats.
No, he's going to be traded for something at the trade deadline.
At this point, any compensatory pick you get is going to be better.
No, because you need the money for next year, because our salary is about to skyrocket. Remember, this is the first year of a lot of expensive contracts. This is the first year of the Tyreek Hill deal. This is the first year of the Teron Armstead deal. The money is about to go ballistic. So you need to save every penny that you can get your hands on if we want to be able to keep most of our talent.
I'm not nitpicking either. Like was it Connor who missed that 3rd down?
It was indeed Tanner Connor,
okay.
Yes. And I tweeted it out. It's like, why is Tanner Connor in there where Mike Gesicki should be running routes?
Right.
I don't understand it. I really have no explanation. Like, if you're going to have Mike Gesicki be there anyway, why are you having him block? This is the same thing that I got mad about with Joe Philbin. Why are you and Adam Gase too? No, it wasn't Joe Philbin. Adam Gase. I'm getting my bad coaches mixed up. Adam Gase had Mike Gesicki blocking more than any other tight end in the NFL, and that was never his game. And now here we are again, and the Miami Dolphins are using Mike Gesicki as a blocker. I'm watching him try to block. And granted, I'll give him credit for this because he's doing a lot better than he used to at blocking. Right. He's worked really hard to get good at it, but that is not his game. Why are you not making him run routes and find mismatches in the middle of the field so that your quarterback, who is desperately trying to find somebody open because he's struggling in the situation that he's in, give him some help? He's going to get blitzed no matter what. Gesicki is not going to help with the whole blocking situation. So you might as well give him one more target to look at so he can throw the ball in his direction.
I thought it was Mike Gesicki at first for Tanner Connor. I thought, I'm like, oh my gosh, Mike Gesicki with an egregious drop there. And then I look at the numbers.
Yeah, I look at the numbers like, oh, that's not Gesicki. That's Tanner Connor.
There we go. That's why. And
not even Hunter Long. Tanner Connor.
Well, Hunter Long was he even active today?
No, he wasn't. No. That's just it. Like, this guy Tanner Connor is active over Hunter Long. We drafted Hunter Long. It makes me upset.
But like, wasn't that the drive also that led to the missed field goal? If he catches that, we get a first down, and then the missed field goal happens, and then they score.
There are a lot of plays that we can point at that would have messed up everything. Like, again, part of Jason Sanders. Listen, he's not Justin Tucker, okay? I'm not going to go out here and say he's a terrible kicker because there's a reason we paid him that money. He was doing a fantastic job. He's still a great kicker.
I agree.
He misses. You miss sometimes. You just do.
Right.
It always happens at the worst possible time.
He's an above average kicker. He's not elite, but he's above average.
It just happens at the worst time.
Right.
And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring it to a close with this because I feel like this is something that needs to be emphasized. Saying that Chris Grier failed the rebuild, I feel like is unfair to Chris Grier because no GM is perfect. Okay,
3-2.
Like if you want to point to Austin Jackson and Noah Benogany as the proof that he's a bad general manager, fine. I'll give you credit for that one because he's not. That was the terrible couple of picks. And we may never know who it was that ultimately wanted Noah Igbenogany. I did not want Noah Igbenogany. I did not know who Noah Igbenogany was before he got drafted. As for Austin Jackson, I thought to myself, I don't know about this. A lot of people were telling me that he's not all that great. He's not all that special. He's a very developmental player. And now here we are several years later, and he's still not that great. So I'll give you Chris Grier messed up that draft, but there are a lot of good players that he did draft. I'm not ready to call Jalen Phillips a bust just because he's not getting to the quarterback every 5 minutes. I'm not ready to call like he did draft Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is a win for Chris Grier. He drafted Tua, and it took a little while. And he drafted Javon Holland.
Brandon Jones.
He drafted Brandon Jones is a Rashad Jones type, is a great player. And so there's a lot of good players that Chris Grier is responsible for drafting.
Grier loved Flores. Right, that's why he fired him.
Well, Chris Grier didn't. Chris Grier did not fire Brian Flores. Stephen Ross fired Brian Flores, which, by the way, feel like I need to point out that doesn't, like, we're talking about how awful Josh Boyer is. We're talking about how awful Josh Boyer is. Brian Flores over there in Pittsburgh doing whatever it is he's doing. Did they not? They were down 31-3 to Buffalo at first half. Not end of the game. First half.
No, the narrative.
Where's Brian Flores and his elite defense now?
No, he's irrelevant. The only thing he's got going for him is the lawsuit. Everything else.
Oh no! But then you'll have Dolphin fans that love Coach Flores say, "Yeah, but they're missing their best defensive player." I'm sorry, you lost to the Browns. You're not giving me that excuse anymore.
There's a lot of things that we can point at. This is how the NFL goes. You don't think the Buffalo Bills every week are saying, "Oh, I wish they had done this instead." Every single team in the NFL is doing this. Every single one of them. Okay, I'm sure that there are Chiefs fans who are arguing about how the Chiefs GM and Andy Reid should be punished for letting Tyreek Hill go because look how Patrick Mahomes is having to adapt to not having his best weapon out there now. I'm sure that there are guys out there doing that. But it doesn't hurt them as much because, again, Patrick Mahomes is who he is. He's going to get the job done eventually, but he doesn't have that cheat code going for him anymore. So there are still going to be people saying that, oh, they should have never done that. And so now we're here. Let's for real, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Can we get past the Minnesota Vikings? I believe we can. But either Teron Armstead or not, I'm not even going to say and. Either Teron Armstead or Tua Tagovailoa has to come back on Sunday. I'm not even going to say both of them, but one or the other has to make an appearance if the Dolphins are going to beat the Vikings. If they're both out, I'm picking Minnesota.
I'm picking Minnesota even with Teron Armstead.
Yeah, I'm right now. I mean, obviously, an hour after watching the Dolphins lose 40-17, the inclination is certainly to pick Minnesota. But Minnesota just struggled with, a pretty average, middling Bears team. If the Dolphins are healthy, relatively at least, meaning Howard, Armstead, and Tua, all three come back, I can see them winning. But if one of those three don't come back, I don't like their chances.
Oh yeah, that's the other one. Yeah, if Xavier okay, let's do this. One of the star players have to come back. There's three options. I like that you mentioned them. Either Xavier Howard, Teron Armstead, or Tua have to come back if the Dolphins are going to have a shot at beating the Vikings. For real, one of those guys has to come back. And Teron Armstead, the difference when he's in there and when he's not in there is so palpable. Like you could tell how different it was. So hopefully he comes back, because if he does, I feel like the Dolphins have a shot. Cliff is saying that in 20 years, Chris Grier has not contributed to one playoff win. Okay, you know what? Yeah, but it's taken a long time for them to even get this far.
Plagued with terrible coaches. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. He's like Joe Philbin, Dan Campbell, and I get it. He's okay into the Lions now, but at the time he was like
okay
more than anything. Okay, Adam Gase, and then Brian Flores kind of got it going there. But there were other issues in play there.
No offensive ability whatsoever.
No offense at all. So and Cliff saying that Greer should have been fired for hiring Flores. It was a joint effort between Chris Greer, and Garfinkel was in there too, by the way, and Stephen Ross. So again, Chris Greer is not the Dolphins run like a business. It is not one man making all the shots. They have like a board of directors type deal going over there.
Yeah.
And so if you want to say that Chris Greer is the problem, be my guest. I'll say that some people will say Stephen Ross is the problem. Some people will say the quarterback is the problem. Some people will say that Josh Boyer is the problem. You can't pin it on one guy.
I don't think you could look at the Dolphins and realistically say Tua is the problem now. Like that
anybody who says that Tua is not the difference at quarterback for the Miami Dolphins at this point is lying to themselves. Right. And Keyshawn Johnson, by the way, for all the crap he talks about Tua, if Tua had been in there, and Lavernius Coles too came out and said that, I think the offense is going to be better with Bridgewater. Now, well, first of all, we never got a chance to see it because your guy knocked him out of the game. And I said this too, and I really hope this is not what's going to be the case. I still feel like there's going to be some level of incentive now for defenses to go headhunting.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because all you have to do is hit the quarterback in his head,
right,
and he's going to go into the concussion protocol, and some numbskull in the back of the room is going to say, he kind of looked a little wobbly. He's not allowed to go back in the game. But I passed all my tests. I'm fine. You don't wobble a bit after you hit your head on the floor? Yep. Like, I'm not going to allow you to. And then defense is going to be like, okay, we just made our jobs easier.
See, this is gonna snowball, right? Because if you're weighing a 15-yard roughing the passer penalty versus the other team losing their starting quarterback, you're taking the roughing the passer penalty.
Did you see the penalty? Did you see the penalty that Grady Jarrett got called for?
Yeah, I did.
Against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. It's like that was the cleanest of clean sacks that I've ever seen in my life. You didn't put all your weight on him, wrapped him around the waist, just dragged him to the ground, and you got called roughing the passer. Like, let's put it this way, guys. If the Dolphins had actually managed to put some pressure, if the front seven had managed to get in without having to bring the blitz, would they have gotten credit for sacks, or would they just gotten nailed for roughing the passer penalties? It's reaching a point where you look at it and it's like, I don't want to touch the quarterback, because if I do, I'm just going to send my teams going backwards 15 yards.
Skylar was getting hit after almost every single throw, and he didn't get one single roughing the passer call, I don't think.
Well, to be fair, his name isn't Tom Brady.
Right. True. So, he's a rookie, 7th round. I mean, yeah, no excuse, but something to note, but yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and call it here. Thank you all so much for joining us. Hopefully we will have Pulsifins Nation on Tuesday at 7 p.m. As always, we have the extra yard going to be tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's 3 or 4. It's going to be one of those times, but Troy Stratford, Alex Dono, make sure that you're tuning in live on 5 Reasons Sports here on the YouTube channel for that. And after that, let's just see what happens. These injuries need to go away. Some of them do. We need one of our star players back if they're going to have a chance.
6 bye weeks.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 6 bye weeks. All righty, folks. That's going to be it. Manny, take us out of here.